Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central.
Yes, it is the In Wheel Time car talk show. Coming up, Keith Barry, Consumer Reports. We're going to talk about EV road trips.
All right.
That's kind of scary to me, but we're going to do it anyway. Conrad has This Week in Auto History.
Comes with a real long extension cord.
And we'll get you caught up on the stories making car news this week. Howdy, along with Mike out of This World Mars, Mr. Zoom. That's a new name for you, Zoomy. Zoomy Mars.
Call him MZ.
MZ. King Conrad DeLong is here with us. We need more Jeff Zekin, as always. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join. No, I'm sorry. I'm George Goebel.
George Goebel.
Glad you could join us this Saturday morning for our live version. And every Saturday, it's usually live, almost all the time. It's not dead yet.
99%.
Yeah. The next couple of weeks is not going to be. I'm going on vacation.
Yeah.
I'm going to be joining David Ainsley in the UP of Michigan.
Yeah. You're going to be a Youper.
I'm going to be a Youper.
I pee, you pee, we all pee.
And then we're gonna fly into the Chippewa International Intergalactic Airport.
Boy, and are your arms tired?
Yeah. But so we're gonna fly in up there on next Saturday, Sunday.
We?
Uh-huh.
Taking Leslie with you?
I am.
And she's getting off the new job so quickly.
Well, she's not on the new job.
Oh.
That doesn't start till next month.
Why does he need to know all this?
I know. I don't understand.
I have no idea.
He's
writing a book.
I want to live
you
a lawyer?
vicariously through Don.
When was the last time you took a vacation?
November last year.
Yeah.
Stayed a little long.
I was going to say, how'd that work out for you? Not too well.
Yeah, like a turd in a punch bowl.
So, at any rate, it looks as though, Mr. Mars, that I see somebody from Consumer Reports kind of peeping around the corner there.
Peeping around.
Is he there? Oh, we've got no audio yet. So they're working on audio. But at any rate, so we are going to talk to Keith Barry here in just a moment, once Mr. Mars gets us all lined up. Is an EV right for your next road trip? Because you know that there are people out there that have purchased an EV here in the past 9 months or so, and they want to go visit Aunt Mary in Wisconsin. Well, think about that for a minute.
It's a long drive and a lot of charging.
Yes. It's a 1,200-mile trip to Wisconsin.
There's a reason those EVs tell you where the charging stations are.
And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about many things. We have many questions.
Talk about Aunt Mary?
No, Aunt Mary has passed away, unfortunately, but...
Then why go visit her?
Okay. I have no idea. Just keep going.
Here, you know what I can do?
Oh, good job.
Let's see. Turn him off. No, just teasing. But at any rate, they have surveyed over 2,000 Americans. The survey was conducted from April. 30% of the respondents said they would definitely or seriously consider buying or leasing an EV. But 61% of respondents said that charging logistics is holding them back, while 54% cited the number of miles an EV can go before it needs to be recharged as the reason they aren't going electric yet.
Yeah.
What do you think? Would you? I mean, if I had an EV, I just spent, let's just say $50,000 on an EV, a nice one, okay, because you can get them a lot cheaper these days. And they claim that you could get 300 miles on a charge. Well, okay, you can get 300 miles on a charge from my experience if you go about 30 miles an hour and don't feather the throttle, don't do anything, put it on cruise control.
Turn the AC off, roll the windows down.
Pretty much.
Well, you know, we talked about that last night. We talked about Kylie, my granddaughter, license. And I'm thinking one of the lesser EVs, lesser so far as mileage that you go, would be good for a first-time driver back and forth to school. In my opinion, maybe a weekend dance.
And how much were you planning on spending?
Well, depending on what a lower end is in the market. But I'm thinking that would be a good start.
Lower to mid 30s, I think. Is
Yeah.
probably
Okay,
about
so something like that.
I got
High 20s.
I got $30,000 to spend. That's the top of my budget. And I could probably go find an EV or a partial EV, a plug-in hybrid, something.
Mhm.
Am I going to do that? Or am I going to go buy an ICE engine, internal combustion engine, put it
and
under the
invite all
hood,
his friends over for a margarita.
and then we are pretty much only limited by the gas
The
stations.
distance.
The gas stations, the distance between gas stations. Because I can always pull into a gas station and fill up the tank and have a full tank. And if you get really good gas mileage, you could probably go 500 miles.
Mhm.
If you get, 30, 40 miles to the gallon, which you can in some internal
Plus you can
combustion
stop
engines.
and refill anywhere in about 15 minutes.
5. Because generally those cars have a small tank to begin with.
True.
So all I can think of is that I got 30 grand to spend. Am I going to spend it on electric? It's going to limit me, and I got to stop and charge it for 30 minutes at least.
Well, I think the genius hotel chain that comes up with, hey, stay with us and free charging stations, and they're frequent enough around, I think those are the people who are going to make the market.
The 2 hotels that aren't far from here, they have charging stations. The new there's a new Hampton, I think, that they just built recently, and then the other one down just another quarter mile away. They've got I don't know if they're Teslas, but they just got the hookups for it, for the electric. They're in the back of the hotel.
Nice
So
and safe
that
back
is-
there in the back of the hotel.
Well, it's not where you've got all your handicap in the front and under the entrance and all that. They're pushed a little bit further back. So, but to answer your question, I think a lesser value EV, lesser mileage would be for a younger
Let
person.
me tell you something. Based on
And
my
urban.
experience with a new driver, I'm going to go buy a $3,000 car that probably has, I don't know, 150,000 miles on it. That, generally speaking, is a good car. It's reliable, dependable, and you've got all the proof in the pudding because they've been building the same car forever and ever, got all the bugs worked out of it, all the recalls have been taken care of. Okay, so it's got a little door ding in it, a little whiskey bump here and there. That's okay. There you go.
Mhm.
If you want a nicer car, here's a
Get
can,
a job.
here's a can of polish.
Mhm.
Here's a wash bucket. Get out there and make it look as good as it can. What's wrong with that?
Well, the first thing I bought Rochelle was a full-size pickup truck. And then the first thing we bought Austin was actually the Yukon.
With no
I'm still
5 mile an
driving.
hour bumpers on it, so you just barely touch anything with the bumpers and it crushes the front end of it.
Or the other vehicle. Yeah.
She's been very good in not having those issues.
That's good. Could you move your microphone a little bit closer?
Is that close enough?
Would you? How's your slapping hand doing?
Not as good as Kathy's.
All right, then we need Kathy to come here.
Yeah, exactly. But there are lots of challenges. Mr. Mars, how are you doing over there? Apparently he's not doing too well. Everything was going well, but now it's not.
That's it's a connection to Connecticut.
Is that what it is? All right.
Yeah,
Well,
George says he's got a friend has a Tesla 3 and he had to stop twice going between Temple and Houston. And the car overheated in this ambient temperature and it
Yeah.
said bring to the service station,
to the Tesla service
to
station.
this Tesla repair facility.
There's a Tesla facility at just 59, just before 36 on the west side, left of the freeway.
Yeah, there's a Tesla repair place up at Rankin Road and 45.
Yes.
It's a nice building.
But that's interesting that, so I know that they have coolant in them, a special kind of coolant to keep the batteries and all of the electrical stuff cool, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because I was always told to keep water and things liquid away from that.
Well, this is again. It's basically a radiator for the batteries because they want to keep the battery temperatures down so that they don't get a thermal runaway.
That's not good. Because usually that winds up with the fire department having to come on the side of the road to
Multiple times because they're very hard to put out.
Yes, exactly.
Foam.
So at any rate, as we continue to work on our interview here, I'm just going to go down the list here of the notes that we have. Consumer Reports tips for EV road trippers. Plan your route.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can think of is you've got a computer in there, great big one that really does good GPS. Plan your route. But you have to plan it with EV charging stations on the route.
Right.
So forget that off-roading stuff that goes back off into the woods and, like you would normally go to grandmother's house and enjoy the scenery, because you ain't going to get it charged out there. Unless,
Granny's got a good generator.
Exactly. Another point is download apps for the major charging networks. EVgo, ChargePoint, Electrify America, Volta, Amp Up, and others. Those are available on your phone, and, you can link your phone to your car. So those are some tips. Before we get to our guest this hour, it's only taken 10 minutes to get him all hooked up here. You ready there, Mr. Mars?
Believe so.
All right. Keith Berry, hello, good morning. And it's kind of like you being in line to get a charge at the EV charging station. Here you are.
Finally.
Yes, I am here, and it works. Which, but after some hiccups, and the way I tend to view where we're at right now with charging infrastructure is that 10 years ago I had a landline. I don't have a landline anymore. And 10, 15, 20 years ago, we're not in the bag phone days anymore of EVs. We're probably in the Nokia days of EVs, the early iPhone days.
Or the dial-up AOL.
Yeah, no. We're well, Mom, don't pick up the phone. We're not in that world anymore.
But look behind you. You got a compact 186 computer behind you.
It's an Apple IIc, actually.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so we're in the kind of, and there actually is a landline there, but it's not hooked up to anything. So we're in that kind of world right now where people are, figuring out, what's going to work for this, what's going to work for that. And we're finding that it's different in Texas, but average nationwide, that the average road trip is about 284 miles each way, and that's the average summer road trip. And most people don't put a full EV range on a car. So for the everyday drive, most people plug in at home and they charge at home. But we're starting to see, what we're really starting to get questions from is these we're starting to see these rentals now. Hertz is now renting Teslas, and has Tom Brady up there, and I'm from New England, so I've got feelings about that. But but aside from that, people are for the first time, I think, when we've got sort of these cars with ranges more than 80 miles or so. These are cars that can do 99% of what folks want to do on a daily basis. But like you said, if you're driving from Texas to Minnesota, it's going to be a very different experience.
Yeah, and because first of all, we know that the car that's rated for 300 miles of battery life before you have to plug it in ain't really 300 miles. It's somewhat less than that.
Particularly if I'm driving.
And if Mike Mars, Mr. Leadfoot over here, is driving it, it's going to be a lot less than 300 miles. So we have to stop along the way as we head north, and we're going to go up I-45 here in Houston, and we're going to go to Dallas. I'm going to go through Dallas to head up north. And once we get to Dallas, well,
hopefully Buc-ee's has a charging station.
We're hoping that we can make it to Dallas on one single charge, because Dallas is about, depending on where you're going from, is about 250 miles. But that's going to be stretching it a lot. And my heart...
And that last 10 miles, you're panic struck.
Yes, there's a lot of puckering going on there. So we have to do some planning. And what I was reading before we got on the air with you, your press release on this subject, and that is that there are some apps that you can use, but for the most part, don't most electric vehicles have a built-in kind of system that tells you where the next charging station is?
Oh, absolutely. Only a handful don't. And most of them, the nice thing about them is that they are tied into the vehicle. So it can know exactly what the vehicle state of charge is. It can know exactly what's best for the battery, where to plug it in. So it kind of tells you what to do. You're not going to want to take on a charge when the battery's at 80% state of charge, because it's going to take forever to get to that last 100%. So it's going to let you kind of dip down a bit and then bring you back up again. And a lot of these will also, they've got these fancy algorithms that will figure out just, to minimize the amount of time that you spend waiting at a charger. The problem is what we're hearing is that sometimes, it'll show that a charger in your infotainment system, in your navigation, and you'll get there. And especially if you're not driving a Tesla, it might not be working, or someone might have their truck parked across it, or it might be behind a locked gate or in a closed parking garage and the hours haven't been updated. So that's kind of that, that's where we're at, that sort of early cell phone landline level right now when it comes to the charging infrastructure.
Or it's at the dealership and you have to talk to a salesperson while your car is charging.
Exactly. Or that's not our brand of car. You can't charge that here. So yeah, absolutely. So and we found that even in the Northeast, where there's a little more density of chargers here, that every so often just something will go wrong, and that's not gonna that's not going to work if you're counting on it,
And the Northeast is such a welcoming personality to people when you step on their property to do something they don't want you to do.
Well, yeah, a lot of these are in highway rest areas, and you've got 5 people lining up for the same thing, and you have to, who is there first? Yeah.
And that's another thing. Let's talk about the time it takes to get that 80% charge when you've only got 5% left, and you have to stop at this particular place and then wait for 30 minutes to get, hopefully, an 80% charge on it. And you're not the only one. And, there are people in line to get that. I mean, how frustrating is that? When was the last time you had a line at the gas station? The 70s? Yeah. At least here in Texas, that's usually not a problem because there's a gas station on every corner.
Yeah. Now, I mean, the good news is that we're getting cars with 800 volt architectures, and they can add 150 miles in a few minutes. And I don't know about you, but I gotta use the facilities every so often, about every 300 miles or so, anyways, while driving. So you can kind of dovetail those two together. But at the same time, yeah, it is a difference. I mean, the road trip, I think for a lot of Americans, a lot of people sort of anecdotally that we're speaking to, there's a hybrid and there's an EV, and the EV is great for 99%. But when you got to go to grandma's house or aunt so-and-so's house or whoever's house, you've got that other vehicle that you can take. So it isn't in that fully road trip sense. And back to that metaphor again, you'd have your cell phone for most of your calls, and then you'd have your landline for when you want to make that 45-minute phone call.
When you guys did the American Experiences survey, what really stood out in this survey of over 2,000 people that when it comes to charging electric vehicles and electric vehicles in general? What'd you find out?
Yeah, two things really stood out was just how different the experience is for Tesla drivers versus non-Tesla drivers. We found that, that supercharger network, they were early, they got really good locations, and they just kind of work. It's the hardware and the software and the vehicles and the infrastructure are all designed to work together. And that's a different experience than folks who are driving and they're trying to, deal with Electrify America, EV Go. Not that any of these, nothing against any of these individual systems, but it's a lot more types of cars and it's a lot more types of chargers, and that software handshake has to take place. And they might not be right out front. They might be in the back of the shopping mall parking lot by the dumpsters where you have to plug in. And, you're in an unfamiliar area in the middle of the night, and it's sort of, where is this thing I'm looking for? There's no big, bright, lit up sign. So we're finding that even though when people buy EVs, they're thinking, oh, I'm not going to have enough charge. I'm afraid of, they've got that range anxiety. But then once they own one and drive it for a little bit, what replaces that is this idea of, well, I know I can charge at home, and that's great. And I don't have to stop at the gas station every morning. I get out, my car has a full charge. I can make it to work, no problem. But this idea of, well, I had to use a public charger this one time because I was going, on a ski trip or something, and it just didn't work. And I think that the infrastructure, and there are some big investments, public and private, being made in infrastructure right now, because automakers can't sell these cars if they don't have places to plug them in. But we're finding that there really needs to be a change around the infrastructure and beefing it up and making sure that there is a place that you can plug in while you're on the road.
Speaking of plugging in, what do you think about, have you gotten any information or feedback yet on this obvious move that all the manufacturers are moving over to the Tesla charge plug?
Yeah, I mean, right now it is a bit of a wait and see because, we're hearing 2024. We tested out, there are a couple of stations in sort of mid-state New York that we drove out to test out some sort of pilot stations that had this magic dock where you could plug in a non-Tesla vehicle at a supercharger. The main obstacles we found were that just the way that the cord length was, they're all designed to fit to a Tesla. So if you have something where your charge port is in the back of the vehicle or it's on the other side, you might not be able to fit in the parking space the right way to fit the cord. And that's something, it's like the littlest, it's like, why didn't we standardize what side the gas tank was on way back, or at least make pumps that could go over to both sides, which I know are becoming more common now. But the 16-foot cable might not work in a couple of situations, depending upon how they're set up. So if these things are physically set up for Teslas, the hardware might work, the software might work, the charging is totally fine, it's great, the location's great. But if you can't park your car there, it's kind of the basic issue. So it's really kind of a wait and see.
Well, I have to tell you, I experienced that when I had the Kia EV6 a couple of weeks ago, and the charge port there at my work, it was only a 110 outlet to begin with. Tesla was right next to it. But I thought, well, I'm going to be here for 8 hours. We'll just stick it on there, the 110 outlet. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? The charge port was at the back on the right rear of the EV.
Yeah.
And so I have to maneuver into an angled parking place, but I have to back into it, which is, a 2 or 3 move. Have to get situated. Get it in there between the parking lines. And it was kind of a pain, but I managed to do it. And then once I got in there, it was made for obviously something to pull into this thing and plug it in the front. So I had to stretch the cord all the way around the back to get it to work. So I understand completely what you're saying. So as far as these I don't want to call them fly-by-night, but these charging stations, I have a card for EV Go because that's what the Whole Foods down the street from me. And it seemed to work just fine, except I didn't update the credit card on that account, so I had to wind up calling them and say, here's my new credit card. Oh, okay, we got all the information. Let me go ahead and turn the pump, if you will, on for you. And boom, then I had it. But it was another 10-minute delay to get the right credit card married to the EV Go card that starts the system.
And it was only good at that for EV Go.
Correct. Only good at EV Go because it wouldn't take a credit card. So there's another hassle with it. You can't put in a credit card like you would at the gas station. Thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why people tell us they love that supercharger network. You set it up one time, and that kind of handshake takes place when you plug in the vehicle. It's actually easier than a gas station and having to put in your credit card. But you're right. This stuff has to be foolproof, and it isn't yet. And I mean, even things like accessibility. If you don't have the sort of the mobility to kind of these cords are heavy to drag this thing around the vehicle. There aren't full service pumps where you can, honk your horn and someone will come out and help you.
Right.
So, I mean, that's another issue. Even just even accessibility around these things, that you're kind of on your own. But these are early days, and we haven't even settled on a standard for a charge port yet. That the NACS versus the CCS there, but it does look like that access to that network is something that other automakers are realizing we absolutely need.
Keith, where can we find the Consumer Reports EV Road Trips login?
You can find that at cr.org, and that article is free. And we also have a whole hub of information for EV owners, for EV interested folks, for hybrid interested folks, for anyone who wants to learn more. We've got information for you.
Well, we sure appreciate it, and it's great to talk to you. As always, we love talking to Consumer Reports. Great information, and we wish you the best of luck and hope to talk to you again very soon.
Same. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Keith Berry with Consumer Reports. We were going to do This Week in Auto History, but we don't have enough time for that because we had to run him a little bit too long to be able to get him in, because I wanted to talk to him. But we're going to do the This Week in Auto History in our next half hour. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You don't mind, do you?
Flexible.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
You want to see my flexibility?
Yes, I do want to see that.
No, you don't.
I just
VW is going to use a small fleet of specially equipped Eurospec ID Buzz minivans to provide ride-hailing services to a closed group in a geo-fenced portion of Austin, Texas, beginning this month.
So Buzz needs to move to Austin.
Using mobile eye technology. Ultimately, the company plans to expand to other U.S. cities and serve the general public by 2026. In Austin, the company will initially use short wheelbase versions of the ID Buzz electric minivan imported from Europe. For the testing program, they'll be equipped with mobile eye technology stack. Later, the company plans to transition to similarly equipped long wheelbase versions of the ID Buzz, like those that will go on sale next year here in North America. Well, time now for a quick break. We'll be right back on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Stay with us.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around, and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6, or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.